breaking down all 29 things you missed from Survivor Season 45, Episode 1. We're talking all things Bruce is back, Emily becoming a supervillain, Sweat versus Savvy, the next Beware advantages, the stupid tribal council with a player quitting, and much, much more. If you're new here, I'm Russell Muscle, and I recap the episodes of Survivor every Thursday. And all I'm saying is the Survivor puzzle giveaways are back this season. If you want to enter next week's giveaway, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below your thoughts on the quit. Not gonna lie, this was a bumpy episode of Survivor to get through, but it was tons of fun watching at Bryce and Wendell's watch party. The little Survivor superfan in myself was freaking out. I got Ozzy to sign my Survivor hat. Anyway, let's get into the breakdown with number 29, Survivor is back. I'm a sucker for hype montages, and nothing beats the opening moments of a season premiere of Survivor. People that get opening confessionals tend to go far in the game and possibly win the game, so you should watch out for Drew and Sifu on the red tribe, Katura and Jake on the blue tribe, and Emily from the yellow tribe. Possibly being some foreshadowing as Emily gets a confessional saying either she's the first one voted out or she's gonna win the game. Obviously, we know Emily wasn't the first person voted out. We'll talk about that later in the video. Number 28, this is Survivor 45. We get some quick cut confessionals as Jeff's gonna introduce the season, and what I'm most excited for is that same clip they're reusing over and over again of the Survivor auction being back this season. That's probably the part of the season I'm looking forward to the most, seeing the Survivor auction return. Number 27, Mat Chat. There's so many insane things we need to talk about with these opening Mat Chats here. We have Austin referencing that he really wants to find an advantage in the game. We'll be talking about that. There's so much to go through. But we also have Kendra giving off some weird vibes, Brandon coming to tears, Bruce being back on Survivor, and of course, Bruce versus Emily. On Twitter, Carson thinks Emily's a perfect villain for Survivor. Obviously, we have the big elephant in the room with the Survivor quit happening at the end of the episode. Don't worry, we'll touch on it later and I'll give my thoughts on everything that went down, but for now, the specialist said it best.
There is no reason that on season 45 of Survivor, we should be 3 days in and having somebody quit this game.
Number 26, tribe names. As we meet the players, we'll dive into it more, but wearing red, we have the Reba tribe. Wearing yellow, we have the Lulu tribe. And wearing blue, we have the Bello tribe. What I'll say for now is 100% without a doubt, the yellow tribe is the disaster tribe this season. I can see a scenario where they lose every single challenge. Number 25, opening challenge. This is the 5th season of the new era of Survivor. This isn't our first rodeo. We know what's gonna happen here. All 3 tribes need to compete for their flint, their machete, and their pot, and whatever tribes lose this challenge, they're gonna have to do Sweat versus Savvy later on. This challenge has the players run in pairs. Pair 1 will empty a crate, pair 2 will jump off a boat and paddle to a key, pair 3 will use the keys to grab a pole and the supplies. Number 24, the challenge. I gotta say, this red tribe feels the most stacked out of all of them, having Austin and Sifu on this tribe. And it's hilarious how slow and steady Bruce is taking the starting point of this challenge because he doesn't want to hurt himself again. And I know everyone's gonna want me to touch on the Brandon situation here. It was a disaster. Brandon was a complete disaster this entire episode. I called it preseason. He was gonna be like Jacob Derwin. First of all, it made zero sense how Sean leaves Brandon and doesn't help him. Secondly, part of me wishes Jeff was harder on Brandon for struggling so much during the challenge. But at the same time, the ladder is tough and so many people would have struggled here. Number 23, winner. We end up having the red tribe win the challenge, and in my opinion, this tribe is going to be the most dominating physically all season long, which means the blue and yellow tribe are going to need to compete in Sweat versus Savvy to earn their supplies. Sweat versus Savvy was starting to feel stale, doing the same thing over and over, and I loved how they handled it this season. We'll get to that eventually, but first we need to talk about number 22, quitter talk. This is such a big issue for me. We're literally minutes into the first episode of the season, supposed to set the tone for a good season of Survivor, and Hannah is already talking about how hard the game is and how she doesn't think she's gonna be able to do it. Whatever, I don't want to go on too much of a rant. I don't want to get too negative, and I do need to state, outside of Survivor, I'm sure Hannah is an awesome person. It's just so hard to watch this. Number 21, Red Tribe. A little bit of foreshadowing for for what we're gonna talk about later with the beware advantages, but J Maya notices weird letters on the tribe flags. I haven't fully decided yet how I feel about these beware advantages. Give me a couple weeks to come to a conclusion. Number 20, lack of backstories. But one thing I do love is the Survivor producers are actually listening to us, and we don't get backstories this episode. We get Drew Basil telling us his life story, his backstory, without getting a literal flashback of the game. And I saw this really funny tweet about the backstories. Number 19, Blue Tribe. As a fan of Survivor, it's so cool to see Bruce back out there actually getting a chance to play the game. It's a good plan in theory to go out there and say he's gonna be the fun uncle instead of the serious leader dad. The big issue here is Bruce is a natural leader and he comes off as the leader anyway. This puts Bruce in a tough spot as the other two dudes on the tribe are off doing a challenge, leading into number 18, Girls on Blue. Now I'm not sure how long this alliance will actually last with them bonding over all being born in September. I'm referring to Kelly, Katura, and Kendra all on the Blue tribe here. Kendra, by the way, seems absolutely insane and good for reality TV. This is someone who can't win the game. There's zero chance Kendra will win the game, but she's gonna make for some good TV. Number 17, Yellow Tribe. This Yellow Tribe, or the Lulu tribe, we're only gonna see 3 members as 2 of them's off of the challenge and Brandon's still on the boat getting looked at. Emily showcases right here why she's such good casting for Survivor. She makes a point to tell the other players how it's really weird Caleb and Sabaya decided to volunteer for Sweat versus Savvy. But how Emily goes about the conversation here, and every single conversation this episode, is absolutely insane. Number 16, Brandon returns. We skip over the doctor's visit. We don't get to see that as we see Brandon return to this Yellow Tribe. Throwback to last season Survivor 44, but I remember being so pissed at that Brandon for not being able to handle the challenge. And I feel the exact same way here. Dude, it's episode 1 of Survivor. You know there's gonna be challenges. Prepare. But deep down, as a Survivor superfan, I'm feeling for Brandon as he tweets this out. Number 15, Sweat versus Savvy rules. By far, this is my favorite version of Sweat versus Savvy we've seen in the new era of Survivor. Honestly, it was kind of broken as 4 seasons in a row, every single tribe was able to win. No one ever lost the challenge, as these 2 groups need to do both the Savvy and Sweat part of the challenge, and only one of them can win. Number 14, Sweat versus Savvy. On Twitter, Gordon Holmes agrees it plays off so much better when it's actually a competition between 2 tribes. But ultimately, I think they make it a little too tough with that 1-hour time limit, as we know neither tribe is gonna be able to do it. From Yellow, we have Caleb and Sabaya, and from Blue, we have Brando and Jake. To make this even more interesting, they had these players go right from the marooning boat challenge to Sweat versus Savvy here. I haven't seen many people talk about this, but it means those day 1 early connections these players weren't able to make. Number 13, Double Losers. I was thinking about it watching the episode last night. It must feel so embarrassing to not be able to finish the challenge and go back to your tribe with nothing. This tribe dynamic on Yellow Tribe is absolutely wild as Emily calls these players out. In theory, it kind of makes sense as Emily thinks the players decided to take an advantage over the supplies. Another big positive of this episode 1 of the new era of Survivor is we skipped over Shipwheel Island and instead only did Sweat versus Savvy. Number 12, Brandon and Hannah. We're gonna have Brandon and Hannah connect about how Survivor is so hard in the game on day 1. Literally, day 1 in the game. I highly doubt that Brandon's actually gonna quit the game, but Hannah's a completely different story. It was a nice throwback to Shane Powers as Hannah talks about it might be her nicotine addiction, but I mean, that's not a good excuse. Shane didn't quit Survivor. Number 11, Jobs on Survivor. Throwback to Survivor 43 with a salesperson targeting another salesperson with Cody targeting Justine. I always love these weird job dynamics as we have Katura targeting another lawyer on the tribe Jake. Number 10, Emily versus the world. Don't get me wrong, Emily is driving me nuts on this Yellow Tribe, but at the same time, she's the perfect type of Survivor casting. She's a player you love to hate. In this new era, even though Emily is driving me nuts, it's refreshing to get a player like this, a villain like this, that everyone's gonna be rooting against. And talking about Emily, that leads perfectly into number 9, Pyramids and Aliens. Please let me know in the comments down below if you're Team Aliens or not. By the way, I'm 100% on the side of Team Aliens. Anyways, it's the conversations like this that get me super excited for Survivor 45 and the 90-minute episodes. There's no way conversations like this make it on the show without the 90-minute episodes. And ultimately, it highlights perfectly how insane this Lulu yellow tribe is. Number 8, Seafood trying to be Tony. Tony is the GOAT of Survivor with how many players are always trying to replicate his strategies. Well, Sifu absolutely does it the wrong way as he builds a spy shack and gets caught spying on his tribe mates on like day 1 or 2 in the game. You can't do that. Number 7, Austin finds an advantage. If I had to put money on one player who I think is going to be a fan favorite this season, 100% it's going to be Austin, which makes it that much cooler that he's able to find the beware advantage here, and obviously he's a fan of Survivor, he's going to open the advantage. Basically, Austin loses his vote until he completes a certain number of tasks, and once he does that, he's going to have a full idol. Like I said, give me a couple more episodes to see how this truly plays out, and then I'll give my thoughts on this beware advantage. Number 6, challenge time. As always, you gotta love the drone shots entering a challenge of Survivor, and it's kind of scary how Jeff is making Bruce jump through some mud again, just like he did in Survivor 44 and got hurt. One player at a time will go up and over a ramp and into a pit and drag heavy coconuts into a basket where you need to play basketball, run up a ramp, and solve a puzzle. I get it, it's probably torture if you don't give the tribes their machete or their pot, but I'm not a fan of what Jeff did here. The whole idea of the new era of Survivor is you have to earn everything out there on the island. But Jeff goes on to say after this challenge, even if you lose, Jeff's gonna give you the machete and pot. Number 5, the challenge. From a safety standpoint, it's absolutely wild how so many players were going down the ramp head first. Moving forward, I really hope Brandon doesn't struggle at every single one of these challenges. Ideally, this will turn into an Aubrey type underdog story for Brandon. As we all know, the puzzle is the great equalizer on Survivor. As blue comes in first place, red comes in second place, leading into number 4, the importance of the puzzles. Carson proved last season during Survivor 44 how valuable it is to practice these puzzles and games if your dream is to go play Survivor. And with Survivor 45 starting, we've officially launched the Survivor 45 Idol Plays drop. This is by far the biggest drop we've ever done, doing 10 different puzzles and games to see how much of a super fan of Survivor you really are. I've also added the big time bundle that gives you $100 off if you purchase all 10 challenges. If you like these videos and you want to help support me in this channel, please consider going to idleplays.com and checking out these puzzles. I've placed a link to the website in the description of this video. Number 3, Lulu losers. I think if we don't get a swap, this yellow tribe is just gonna keep losing and losing the challenges. There's really nothing else to say. This tribe is a complete disaster. We have Hannah wanting to quit, Brandon being in so much pain, Caleb and Sabaya being targets for being strong allies, and Emily a Survivor supervillain. And fun fact, there was actually an unaired twist where a blue tribe member got to visit this yellow tribe. Number 2, Tribal Council. If you've watched any of my recaps before, you know how much I value the Tribal Council. That's because the Tribal Council is obviously the last part of the episode, the last part you see. You want to end the episode on a good note to feel good about it. Sure, the episode itself was decent and sets the season up on a pretty good note, but the Tribal Council itself was an absolute disaster. Honestly, leaving such a sour taste in my mouth, the only thing that saved the Tribal Council for me was getting to watch it with Jam Jam and Marianne. Number 1, the quit. I don't want to get too negative and go on too much of a rant because it's only episode 1, but this is absolutely brutal, and Ozzy agrees. I would go as far as to say Hannah quitting kind of ruined the episode for me, even though I'm still excited for what's to come next. Anyways, congratulations Connor, you're this week's giveaway winner. I'll announce a new winner next week, and click right here for my Survivor 46 cast assessment.